pass into the corner, the horn hits, and UConn celebrates. History abounds in Indianapolis. The UConn Huskies are undefeated national champions and the first ever to win 4 in a row. A team without parallel as the confetti falls down in Indianapolis, 82-51 the final.
But I've never met a group so willing to share. Share the limelight, share the ball, share all the attention that comes their way. And all year long this year, they've been unbelievable. There hasn't been one day where I've, had any doubt whatsoever that they were going to be here at this moment doing what they did.
This is After Hours with Amy Lawrence.
First, the voice of John Sadak, the final call of a 4th straight unprecedented national championship for the UConn women's basketball team on the Westwood One NCAA radio network. And then the voice of Geno Auriemma. Never had a doubt. They came in saying, this group of seniors, we're going to win 4 straight titles. It's the one thing that has not been accomplished in UConn women's history, and they did in fact do it. Breanna Stewart, Morgan Tuck, and Mariah Jefferson, the celebrated seniors. After Hours with Amy Lawrence on CBS Sports Radio. We're going to try to squeeze in a few more of your calls before the top. You can find me on Twitter at ALawRadio, but really excited to welcome Swin Cash, Huskies 2-time champ, as well as a member of the New York Liberty. You saw her as part of the college basketball coverage, too. She's got gold medals from the Olympics and is up early for a flight and to catch a plane. So, Swin, it's good to catch a couple of minutes with you. 4 straight national titles for your alma mater. What does that mean for the UConn Huskies?
It's unbelievable. I mean, you think about it, to have to do something that's never been done. I just have to give a lot of credit to the 3 seniors. I mean, you look at Breanna Stewart, you look at Morgan Tuck and Mariah Jefferson, and I mean, they came in, they put the time and the work in, and it's really paid off for them.
There's been a lot of talk about the versatility of Breanna Stewart and her accomplishments, of course, but you don't step on campus being able to win 4 straight Most Outstanding Player awards at Final Four, Swin. So how have you seen her grow and develop into the player that she is now?
I think she always had the certain skill set. I mean, she had the size, like you said, the ability. Her length was always going to be a problem. Athletically, she's just so gifted. I think where I've really seen her maturation has been in her toughness, her ability to play through contact, her leadership as far as imposing her will to the game, and not so much as just being laid back and letting it come to her. So I feel like she really has kind of developed that killer gene that you need to be one of the best players in the world and to be in the conversation of one of the great all time.
So Breanna has made some comments about how Coach Auriemma would annoy her, make her angry, that the way he came at her just at times got underneath her skin. So you played for him for 4 years when you were in stores. How does he pull the best out of his players?
Well, he's the same. I would tell you the same thing I would tell Stewie and Mariah and all of them is like, listen, when you're in school, you don't like the man. It's just point blank period. You don't understand why, but there's this buttons that he pushes that really frustrates you. And he does that with players, obviously, that he knows has that capability to be great and that he needs the lead. And so you kind of form that love-hate relationship. But at the end of the day, when you take a look back, you realize that it was actually helping you become a better player as well. So I think the one thing that I learned from him is just having that mental toughness. He challenges you every day in practice. He challenges you even when you're sleeping to think about, you thinking about the game, or you learning about the game, or you trying to be the best player ever. And I think that's why he separates himself from so many other college coaches, because it doesn't stop just when you're just between those lines. It's always about evolving and really growing as a player and then as a team.
We're spending a few minutes with Swin Cash, 2-time UConn Husky national champ, also gold in the Olympics with Team USA and a member of the New York Liberty. It's After Hours with Amy Lawrence, CBS Sports Radio. Normally, human beings get complacent. They get bored. They take their foot off the gas when the winning comes easily or when it's just something that they do day in and day out. How is it that the Huskies stay motivated and stay hungry, Swin?
Well, it's kind of a culture that he's built. If you ever watch one of UConn's practices, their practices are a lot more intense sometimes than I would say some of their games, especially some of their conference games. UConn just has this ability. They practice hard. Everything's always going to be harder than the game. It's like a demand where it's constantly trying to push you out of your comfort zone. So it's hard for complacency to really show itself or to come into play when every single day you're getting pushed outside of that comfort zone. And then you're also getting challenged on a day-to-day basis. You're getting challenged. And I think that's the way Coach Auriemma has always coached, and I think that's what's been most effective at the University of Connecticut.
Okay, Swin, so ever since you and I texted and you agreed to come on the show to talk about the Huskies and about college basketball March Madness, I've been anticipating the chance to ask you this question. There are members of the media, there are fans across the country who say that UConn's dominance now with the 4 straight women's basketball titles is bad for the sport and that people don't want to watch. What's your reaction to that?
My reaction is the same. It's like if I'm watching the Yankees dominate, and they're winning championship after championship, no one's getting mad about it. Now, you can say, all right, it's how they're winning. Come on. At the end of the day, you like to see somebody that's that good. If you love basketball, you love to see how UConn plays the game, how they move the ball. Of course, Janet may be blowing people out, but it's pretty when you're blowing people out. Do you see how these girls play? They execute, they share the ball, they're knocking down shots. I mean, if anything, I would be more offended to say, okay, well, why aren't the other coaches stepping up their game and preparing their girls to compete at this elite level? It's not like he just started doing the winning championships. I mean, this is number 11 right now. It's been year after year after year. So, if anything, I would be putting the onus on the other coaches to step up their game. So, I don't pay attention to the media stuff because at the end of the day, if we were talking about men, I don't think that would even be a question. I didn't hear a peep after the semifinal games when the guys got blown out. It was like, oh, I know the championship game will be better. So, it's always an excuse. It's always a but somewhere when it comes to men, but we don't get it as women, which you understand what it's hidden for, and you just kind of just move on past it and don't even get consumed with it. At the end of the day, until somebody beats you, you don't settle for mediocrity. You want to dominate year in and year out. So next year, they shouldn't be saying, oh, we hope teams are better. They should be saying, you know what, we're going for number 12.
I love it. Worth the wait to get your reaction, Swin. Thank you. Swin Cash with us here after hours on CBS Sports Radio. You were part of the coverage of the men's tournament, the first 4 in Dayton. We just saw the national championship on the men's side decided by Chris Jenkins' buzzer beater for Villanova. Got to tell you, it was phenomenal to be in the building when that took place. And what a way to wrap up March Madness.
It was literally insane. First of all, the shot before that by Paige was like epic, and then we were just like, what in the world? And I mean, it was crazy because before Jenkins even took the shot, my husband, like, he's over there texting with his friends, and he called it that something was about to happen. He's going to make a shot. And lo and behold, they come down. There's a lot of time, and if you don't play those whole 40 minutes, it's that 1 or 2 seconds that could kill you, and it sure did for the Tar Heels.
Oh, yeah, it was an amazing finish. And Swin, I saw that you tweeted during the game something about Jay Wright essentially coaching his rear end off. What did you see from him that put his guys in position to win that game at the end?
Man, listen, if I saw Jay Wright, we had Jay Wright on We Need to Talk 2014, the beginning of that season, and I wish that we could have him on the show again because I'm just going to congratulate him and shake that man's hand. I mean, he coached the heck out of that game. You know what I saw from him? I saw him have his team ready defensively to execute offensively. I mean, they had a game plan you could see. They were switching. They got away with Archie Diacono basically guarding Meeks on the inside. Bryce Johnson was getting guarded by Hart and different point guards, smaller guards. And Carolina could not make adjustments to make them pay. And I thought that Carolina with their front line was going to dominate. But there's something to be said when you have a game plan and a strategy and you have players that are willing to go in there and sacrifice and execute. I mean, they were throwing their bodies. They were boxing out. They were slowing the ball down when they needed to. They ran and had a certain pace to them, but they controlled that game from opening tap. It was always in their control. And I mean, it was a well-played, executed game. And as a basketball fan, And as a player, for me to watch that, I give that respect. The same way I would hope that if people are watching UConn's game and seeing how these girls are executing game plans and maneuvering and, like, moving the ball and knocking down shots, you got to appreciate the game. I mean, you have to love basketball in order to appreciate something so masterful as Jay Wright did.
One of the things we saw at the Final Four, seniors really carrying their teams. You mentioned Ryan Arcidiacono, Marcus Page, Bryce Johnson for North Carolina. And it was a theme throughout March Madness as well. How does having those upperclassmen who've stuck around impact the level of play that we see on the tournament stage?
I think, the big thing for me is it really came down to having those upperclassmen and seniors. I really felt like it was a stabilizing force for a lot of teams. People were talking about how well they were playing. Yes, the seniors are playing well, but it really was like that stabilizing force, that hand that was in there for all the teams. You look at Villanova, obviously for the whole season with Michigan State and, Buddy Hield in Oklahoma. It just goes on and on. Virginia, it just goes on and on. But I really felt like when big shots needed to be made or big plays, they were the ones that were making that happen. And the thing about it is that sometimes you learn and you get better throughout the tournament. And Villanova was one of those teams that they really just kind of caught fire throughout the tournament, and their execution got better. Their game plan was always there, but players just had a heightened sense of responsibility on offense and defense, and you could see it. Body language for me is huge. And Villanova throughout the tournament, and especially in that final game, their body language was like, this is our championship, and we're going to take it.
And now we're done with college basketball because the UConn women win their 4th straight title. Swin Cash, part of 2 of those Huskies championships of the 11 that they have. She's also a member of the New York Liberty. They start their season in mid-May and does some coverage of the Knicks, too. You're everywhere, girl. You can find her on Twitter at Swin Cash. Travel safely. Great to spend a couple of minutes with you.
No problem. Thanks, Amy.